the reason I decided to come and speak to you at this year's SOAP is because I was inspired at last year's SOAP by one of the speakers, Rachel Ann Bailey, and she encouraged women in IT to go out and speak. So here I am. A little bit about me. Sorry, just looks like the connection's lost. Guys.
Oops, doesn't work.
Yeah, I think I'm too far from my laptop. Can we have it closer, maybe? Yeah. Great, sorry. Technical difficulties. It's actually my first public speaking for such a big crowd, so if I'm going too fast or not speaking loud enough, just let me know. If you have any questions, and just feel free to ask them as I go along. So a bit about me. I've been in the technical communications field for about 5 years, and I've worn many hats throughout these years, but if I were to summarize in one sentence what I was doing, it would be providing and supporting and providing value to users. So how many of you here are also technical writers? Oh, so that's a lot. And how about technical writers in Agile teams, in Agile environments? Okay, good. Well, I'm glad. So I'm also a technical writer at JAMF Software. And that's why in an Agile environment, in a Scrum team, that's why I really feel that this topic relates to me. So what is Agile software development? Agile software development is basically a set of principles for lightweight software development. So it promotes adaptive planning and continuous improvement. Software is made in an iterative way, meaning that it's produced in a short period of time. And with each release, a new feature is released. And what you here see behind me is the 4 key principles from the Agile Manifesto. And the Agile Manifesto, it's basically some guidelines that were put together by software developers, just how to guide people. So let's go over them. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So Agile is all about collaboration, interaction. This is the one of the main aspects. Now, the second one, now a lot of those technical writers will probably get angry at the second one. Anyone know why? Okay, well, let me tell you why I get angry, because a lot of times people will take this part, the second part, comprehensive documentation, and =, no documentation at all. And that's not what Agile is. It doesn't mean no documentation at all. It means minimizing the documentation, and I will talk a little bit more in my further slides about that. And the next one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So you get feedback, continuous feedback from your customers. You ask them what they want and not what you want. So you give the people what they want. And the big one, responding to change over following a plan. So you have to be flexible. You can't just have a plan, because most likely, and for sure, it will fall apart, because that's not Agile. If you have a plan, for 1 year ahead, you're not doing Agile, because it's just the way it works. So what are some characteristics of an Agile team? Well, an Agile team is cross-functional and self-organized. So it means that the team has all the necessary skills that you need to finish the project. It also means that all of the members in the team, they work together to achieve a common goal, a shared goal. And as I mentioned before, collaboration and communication is key. So you're constantly meeting and interacting with your teammates. It's all about that. Another aspect is transfer of knowledge. And transfer of knowledge is, since the team is cross-functional, meaning there are no roles in an Agile team. Everyone is just a team member. You get to learn from other people. So a technical writer gets to do some quality assurance tests. So that's a new skill that they can gain. So yeah, transfer of knowledge. Now, one of the most popular, probably, Agile frameworks is Scrum and Kanban. But, and I know one of the speakers touched a little bit on this, so I don't want to go into too much detail because I wanted to focus more on the documentation side of it. But before I do, I wanted to share a short video with you. And the video just kind of gives you a brief idea of how those Agile teams perform in their daily life. Hope it works. Okay, no sound. No sound. So the sound is coming from here.
Hi, buddy.
You know, you have to be on time for the daily stand-up. It is the same time.
Can you guys hear anything?
Every day. Loser! We evolve. The daily stand-up is crucial. For the daily stand-up, you don't let your teammates wait.
You know, the first time I heard about this Scrum thing, I didn't think it would fit our organization. However, after we sent Ian to Scrum Master...
We're gonna play it from the beginning. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, yes. Hi. Hi. Hi, buddy.
You know, you have to be on time for the daily stand-up. It is the same time, same location every day. Loser! We evolve. The daily stand-up is crucial. You can't be late for the daily stand-up. You don't let your teammates wait.
You know, the first time I heard about this Scrum thing, I didn't think it would fit our organization. However, after we sent Ian to Scrum Master training, things rapidly changed around here.
I am the process enforcer! Oh!
Thanks, Wendy. Hi, Mike. I can make this incredible deal. Lots of bonus. I just need a money change. It's just a few hours of work. Come on, can you do it for me? I'll give you this donut if you do it.
You fool! Never interrupt the team! They're in a sprint, they have focus, so no changes! If you want extras, go to the product owner! I am the process enabler. Scrum works great, but let the team do the work. That's what they're good at. They deserve being left alone. I take care of that. And do I enjoy doing that? Hell yeah!
After we introduced Scrum, the productivity of our teams went through the roof. They focused on maximizing value by delivering a new version of our product every 2 weeks. Rapid value creation is key.
Hey, I finished this feature yesterday.
The code is done, but we still need to run it through a regression test. Quality is key.
I'm sure it works. I'll put it to done.
It's not tested.
Done means done! If it's not done, it is not done!
Hey Lisa.
You know that! Don't mess up the Scrum board!
Ian is not only here to enable the process and protect the team, he's also here to facilitate the team and to coach them. He helps them to create the best day possible every day.
Anyone like some coffee?
Yes.
Come on, sit up straight. You don't want your back to get hurt. Wait, let me help you with that.
Nice.
There, you must feel much better now. Enjoy your coffee.
Thanks, Ian.
A Scrum Master needs to do what needs to be done. I am a facilitator. It's not about me. It's about the team. Anything that needs to be done, I take care of that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hold on.
Hey, Ian, speed up. We're losing power.
I'm working on it.
Yep, I'm back. Yep.
Ian is our Scrum Master. He protects the team, he coaches the team, and he ensures that impediments are busted. And do I mind the way he does that? Of course not. It's the end result that counts.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. It gave you a little bit of background of a typical day in an Agile team. So, 99 problems, but Agile ain't one. Now, what do I mean by that? Is historically, technical communicators, they faced many challenges. But the biggest challenge has nothing to do with Agile, Scrum, or anything to do. The biggest challenge is how do we get those development bastards to give us the information we need and when we need it? So not enough information. And within Agile team, it's easier to work because you are working towards the same goal. So the project is not finished until everybody reaches the goal. So what are other problems? Juggling several projects for many teams, writer's block. And writer's block pertain in technical communications. What I mean here is a situation when a writer has to decide in what form the content that he's going to be created will provide the most value for the users. So he must decide, maybe this should be a webinar. Maybe this should be a short article, a knowledge-based article, or a how-to. So he can get stuck there, deciding right on the beginning page. And little value to stakeholders. The guys who are technical writers usually are treated as a little bit of second-degree citizens. But in an Agile team, I think they're more appreciated because of that teamwork effort. So, I skipped one. Okay, well, I'll come back to that one later. So before I go into more documentation in Agile, I wanted to bring you back, guys, to the documentation lifecycle. So the lifecycle to finish a documentation task. So the first one it's the requirement analysis. So this is where you gather your document requirements, you analyze your target audience, and what tools will be used for your task. The next stage is the design stage. So you are estimating how much time will take for this project to finish, and what is the document format. And then, of course, you develop the content. And you go back before developing the content and editing until you reach a state where it's ready for publishing. Once it's published, you have to keep the documentation up to date and relevant. And this is a struggle in many, especially larger organizations, enterprises, to keeping those documents up to date. So what characterizes an agile approach to documentation? Well, it basically forces the writer to produce lean, task-oriented documentation that is focused on the user. So it means continuously documenting. It makes it easier for the technical writer because larger documentations can be broken down into pieces. So you are writing just enough and just on time. So it's those minimalistic principles. The writing has to be purposeful, specific, conceptual, and simple. So you have to keep your why, what, where, and when to document always in mind. And the last big one is feedback from users. And that is something that you, as a technical writer, won't get in any other team. Because what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're releasing in beta a documentation, you can ask your beta customers for feedback on that documentation. So in the end, you know that the document that you provided really provides value and has what the user wanted in the beginning. So what are the challenges? The biggest one is not enough time. In an agile team where the cycles are really fast, usually what I found, a lot of teams work in 2 weeks sprints. So it's really hard to get that to get done. So you're almost like sprinting. The second big challenge is estimating work. It's really hard for a writer to estimate their work correctly because sometimes what takes a cycle or two to code, it might take another half a year to write the documentation if the configuration is complicated, or the other way around. It might be, it might be shorter. So that is a very common problem, is estimating work, estimating the writing time that it will take the writer to finish writing. Documenting in parallel with development. So this is probably one of the hardest ones. So for all of those tech writers in Agile teams, would you agree that this is one of the hardest ones? That documenting in parallel, so in the same cycle, to have documentation ready for the feature developed at hand. It's really hard because you don't want to fall back the team because then you're just a blocker. And the final challenge that I have here is organization support. Now, in order to implement Agile, you have to have an Agile-friendly environment. And not all organizations invest in training or provide the tools. Like when I was speaking about teams needing collaboration, well, collaboration sometimes doesn't happen by the desk. You need a good workspace where teams can collaborate, exchange ideas. And not all organizations who want to do Agile, they don't have those kind of resources to support the Agile team. So that's definitely a challenge. So what are some tips for tech writers? So I don't know if you guys remember the graphic that was in the beginning, but it was basically a reporter So a technical writer on an Agile team acts a lot of like a reporter. So what a reporter does, ask questions. So you have to ask questions. So if you don't understand anything, go and ask a question. Another tip would be to schedule your day properly. Now, in order to schedule a day properly, because everything is happening so fast, the cycles, that you need to block time. You need to block time if you know you want some information from this and this developer, then you should already schedule that meeting and have it blocked out. Or even if you just want to chat. So you have an understanding of what your day will be. Because with Agile, with all of the things happening, you can get pretty easily lost. So flexibility over process. As I was mentioning before, Agile emphasizes flexibility. So you can have a roadmap, a plan, but you need to be flexible enough to change it. A big one is also that you have to learn what to ignore. You have to acknowledge your limitations, because when you know that you can't handle a project, you know that you might not have the bandwidth for it, then you need to address that issue. So one example is skip meetings that don't add value to the documentation. So you can focus just on what you need. Writers, usually technical writers in Agile teams, they write technical task-oriented writing. So that means that you're focused on the user and providing the value to the user, and not what the product can do and its features. So another tip, track project changes. Now, tracking project changes will inform you of what is the current state, where is the project, might be some roadblocks down the road. In our company, we use the Atlassian issue tracking called Jira. So we do reading Jira, where a writer would read user stories, and excuse me. And based on that, he knows what to expect and what's coming next to him. Get involved. So there's a lot of meetings in Agile, and it all depends on the framework that your team will be working on. But you have to get involved. As a tech writer, you need to speak up at meetings. If you see that a meeting is not that might provide some value to your work, ask for the invitation for the meeting. I mean, chances are that you are not going to get rejected. Another big one is think about the entire release cycle. With focusing on developing the current feature at hand, you can easily get lost, lose track, and not think about the entire release cycle. So you have to think about the beta, where you're actually releasing, and have that all in mind. And always be revising. Since you're continuously writing, you have to revise your content. So that means that you have to revisit the documentation. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Yeah, you guys can tell I'm a little bit of stressed, but okay, thanks. Fixing errors on the same day. So this is from the book Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time by Jeff Sutherland. And Jeff Sutherland was the older gentleman you saw in the video and the second slide. So he says that one way to increase efficiency is by fixing errors on the same day the feature is developed. Because in one study that they did, when the QA waited until after the sprint to note the bugs in the code, it took the developers 24 times longer than if they would to fix the issue or address the bug in the same sprint or day. So how can a tech writer learn from this? Well, it will be 24 times easier to fix if you address an error or a bug on the same day or on the same cycle. So let me give you an example. For example, a dash in the phrase. So this is pretty common. You see in the UI text, it's mispronounced. It doesn't have a dash, and chances are, if you don't address it right away, that it will end up on the UX, on the mockups, or in other places, and it will be just going on, and you will have to correct it every time. But if you address it in the beginning, you're like, hey, this new feature, we write it like this. So go ahead and write it like this, so then the people are aware. And the two last ones, finding better ways to communicate. So when I start a project, I always ask the team that I'm going to work how they want to collaborate. Like, what tools are the best? Some people, prefer chat messages. Others, maybe a phone call or a WebEx. So you have to find what works best for you and your team. And the last one, sharing updates. So this is something that not a lot of people on Agile teams do when talking about the documentation. So what do I mean by that? I mean, like during your demos or other meetings where you demonstrate the work that you've done, talk about the documentation. That this was finished. We are going to provide to support the user with this, and this. So just making them and everybody aware of that documentation process in an Agile team will definitely make your job easier and make you more appreciated. And that's it. So any questions?
Thank you, Kasia. Thanks a lot. Okay, guys, now apart from the soaps, I also have some little gifts straight from Kasia. First question. Okay, coming? Okay.
I have it, so okay. Hi, Kasia. Thanks a lot for gathering the courage to step into the stage and for the beautiful slides. We can all see that you put a lot of effort into that, so thank you. My question, I don't know the size of the company you work for, so it may be
It's
relevant.
about 500.
Okay, so then it's relevant. So I wanted to ask about in your experience, whether do you think that the reporting structure of the Agile teams and of the people that work on those teams can have an impact on how successful the implementation of Agile can be, whether they all report to the same line or it's one function with several lines, that kind of thing.
Well, because usually, I work in Scrum. So in Scrum, there's only 3 roles. It's the product owner, the Scrum Master, and a team member. So there's no technical writer, developer, or QA. So it's just a team. So the reporting structure, the team is, as I mentioned, is self-organized, so meaning that they plan their own work. The product owner, he would maybe add, he's the one that's translating the technical requirements and maybe adding adding things to your backlog, but you are the one, you organize your work. So there's no, I would say, so like a strict, like a manager, employee architecture, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's me here. I just wanted to ask, how do you determine the level of flexibility? How flexible the technical writer is supposed to be towards the opinion of stakeholders and the team in terms of what should we write and how should we write?
Flexible, you mean exactly what by flexible? By...
Like, I mean, some people just come in and, oh, Anton, you've written that stuff. It's wrong. I think it should be that way.
Okay, so yeah, that is actually a challenge because you cannot take all of the feedback into your work, because one developer might say this, but another one might say this, and then your user might say something different. So I think, and I lost my thought here, but. Yeah, would that answer your question?
Where's the line?
Yeah. So you have to. And another thing that I skipped during my presentation is getting your information only through one person. You should be grabbing it from different places and not just focusing on one thing.
Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Jarek from Gdańsk. I'm also a technical writer in Agile development.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to ask you, how do you manage the review of your work? Like, I don't use the word test on purpose because, like, who reviews your work?
Well, we have an editor, but usually you would get you would first want the team to check for technical accuracy. So make sure that you have technical accuracy, and then the next step is going to the editor and he would be the one that does the editing in the next stage.
Mm-hmm. So is the editor outside the school?
No. It's outside the team.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a person that is outside the team.
Okay.
So you want to get feedback from your team, the product owner, and then once you get all your facts and you know that this is for sure, this is accurate, then you would give it to an editor, and then you would work around, the styling, the wording, make sure that adheres to the company style guide.
Okay, so the task complete is after the editor?
Yes, the task is complete after the editor, but it usually goes back, for like a final review, like, so this is what we're publishing, everybody, we're creating, like, please accept. Since we're using Jira, we're usually and the Atlassian, we do pull requests for those.
And just one more. And how do you demo the documentation? Do you have demo sessions?
Yes, we do. So we demo. So what I try to do in demos, from the technical writing perspective, to always be speaking about the documentation, because often demos are just about code and what was done and how the features developed, what were the bugs that were solved, and they don't talk about or like the documentation is done. Mm-hmm. But what does that mean? Like, in my demos, I talk about how our specific team will provide value, to the user. So maybe some knowledge-based articles, maybe an admin guide, but I'm not going to say that, I'm writing the admin guide. I wanted to say in a way that you're giving some value.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay. And I actually have a little challenge. And I have a book to give away for anyone who is a tech writer on the Agile team to share a story or a challenge or something. Anyone up for the challenge? No? Okay.
It's going to be a short one. In my project, there are more Scrum teams than technical writers, so we need to jump between the Scrums, and it's really time-consuming and difficult to handle. So we, in a way, we had to in our technical writing team. I mean, it's not a team. Like the guys who do the documentation, we had to create our own sub-process to be able to handle the situation.
Okay. Okay, so you said you work on multiple Scrum teams, or okay, yeah, and that is a challenge too, because a lot of times the technical writer is not assigned only to one team; it's assigned to a lot of teams.
Yeah, and then on paper it looks great because your capacity is set to the share of time, but it never works like this.
Right, right. Okay, well, here's the book.
You've earned yourself a nice book with this short story.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Kasia. It was a very nice presentation. My name is Pilar. I come from Spain, and I'm also a technical writer. I am new to this role. And since our most important goals, the audience, who reads the documentation, I wanted to ask if there is some way to track the way the end user is making use of our documentation, because sometimes it's, at least in my company, it's very hard to get feedback from them, right? So. Okay,
well, I guess it is a hard question because it all depends how your organization works and what, because some of the then can be out of your scope, what you can do. So what I would do, I would have the documentation ready, so like the user guide or some articles during the beta. So when the customers are testing the software or feature that is going to come out, you usually want to support them with the documentation, and then they could give you feedback, like, hey, like I feel that you missed a step or something. But it all depends on the environment in your organization and how you handle the entire release process.
There are no straightforward answers I get sometimes. Okay, any more questions? We can offer just one more. Okay.
How do you prevent the task from piling up at the end of the sprint? Because my experience is that usually the developers don't really know exactly how they will implement the feature yet, so they can't really give you the input that you need. And also they don't have the time because they are working on the feature, so they can't really talk to you yet.
So if I heard your question correctly, I would say you have to learn how to write fiction. Meaning writing for features that are still not yet developed, but you have to write it. But writing the fiction also it has to be kind of solid. So then you're not just writing for the purpose of writing. Is that something? Does that answer a question or? Okay. Okay. So no more questions?
Okay, guys, we have to finish, but stay here with me for a moment because I have a huge announcement before I do that. Thank you, Kasia. Thanks a lot.